My stepdaughter showed me disrespect even after I paid $40,000 for her wedding. Years later, her mother and real father pushed her to ask me for an inheritance, forgetting why I walked away. Hello Reddit I plus here. Throwaway account, because some people involved still stalk my social media. I am writing this partly to get it off my chest, and partly because I still cannot believe the audacity of what happened years later. This is long. It has to be. Context matters. How I became the backup parent. I met my ex-wife when her daughter was still in elementary school. Her biological father was technically around, but only in the way a ghost is around. He showed up for photos, birthdays when it suited him, and big moments that made him look good. I was the one doing school runs. I was the one sitting through parent-teacher meetings. I was the one fixing broken sinks, helping with homework, and paying for braces. I never tried to replace her real father. I stayed in my lane. I treated her with respect, kindness, and patience. I thought that was enough. It never was. She tolerated me. That was the best way to describe it. Polite when others were watching, cold when they were not. I told myself it was teenage attitude, and that time would soften things. I was wrong. The wedding conversation. When she got engaged, everyone assumed I would help pay. No one even asked. It was just understood. Her mother came to me one evening with a budget spreadsheet and a nervous smile. The total was just over $40,000. I hesitated. That money represented years of work, missed vacations, and long nights. But I loved my wife, and despite everything, I cared about her daughter. I wanted peace in the family. So I said yes. I wrote the checks. I booked vendors. I didn't complain once. I did not ask for recognition. I did not demand a speech. I just wanted to feel included. The comment that changed everything. A few weeks after I finished paying the last installment, her daughter came over to the house to discuss final wedding details. Her mother stepped out to take a call, leaving the two of us alone in the kitchen. That is when she looked at me and said, very calmly, very clearly, I need you to understand something. You're not my dad. You never will be. So know your place in my life. No anger, no emotion, just dismissal. I remember the hum of the refrigerator behind me. I remember how quiet the house felt. I remember realizing that every sacrifice I made meant absolutely nothing to her. I nodded. I said nothing, and something inside me shut down. Discovering the affair. A few weeks later, I found out why my wife had been acting distant. I did not snoop at first. I noticed late nights, secretive texting, and sudden trips that made no sense. Eventually, the truth came out the way it always does. She was cheating, not a mistake, not a one-time thing, an ongoing affair. When I confronted her, she cried. She begged. She blamed stress. She blamed our marriage. She blamed everything except herself. In my shock and pain, I did something foolish. I went to her daughter, thinking that maybe this would be the moment she stood up for what was right. I told her everything, the betrayal I did not expect. Her reaction still hurts more than the affair. She shrugged and said, I already know, and honestly, I'm glad my mom found happiness. You're not her real match anyway. That was it. No outrage, no disappointment, no empathy. That was the moment I realized I was never family to either of them. I was a resource, a wallet, a placeholder. I filed for divorce quietly. I moved out. I stopped paying for anything that was not legally required. I went no contact. The wedding invitation arrived in the mail. I did not respond. I did not attend. I did not send a gift. People whispered. I did not care. For the first time in years, I chose myself. Starting over life after divorce was not easy, but it was honest. I focused on my career. I rebuilt my savings. I learned how to be alone without feeling empty. Years later, I met someone who saw me, not for what I could provide, but for who I was. We married quietly. No drama, no entitlement. Then life surprised me again. We had twins. Holding those babies changed something in me. I understood what unconditional love actually looked like. I also understood how deeply I had been taken for granted before. The call years later. Out of nowhere, I got a call. It was my former stepdaughter. Her tone was polite, too polite. She asked how I was doing, asked about my life, congratulated me on my family, information she clearly got from social media. Then she said it. She wanted to talk about my estate. She explained that her mother and her biological father thought it would be fair if I included her in my inheritance, considering everything I had done for her growing up. I almost laughed. Almost. Remembering why I walked away, I reminded her of the day she told me to know my place. I reminded her that she told me I was not her father. I reminded her that she celebrated her mother's affair. There was silence on the line. Then she said, that was a long time ago. People grow. I agreed. I told her I had grown too. I told her my place was with my wife and my children. I told her my legacy was for those who respected me, not those who remembered me when money was involved. She accused me of being bitter. Her mother accused me of being cruel. Her biological father accused me of being selfish. None of them apologized. I hung up and blocked every number. Some people think paying for a wedding buys you a lifetime connection. It does not. Respect does. I learned that family is not defined by how much you give, but by how you are treated when you stop giving. And I have no regrets walking away. You see, blocking them did not end it. It only changed tactics. First came the messages from extended family. Aunts I had not spoken to in years suddenly cared deeply about reconciliation. Cousins framed it as concern, saying things like, "Life is short," and "You don't want regrets when you're older." Every message followed the same script. They never mentioned the disrespect. They never mentioned the affair. They never mentioned the words that told me exactly where I stood. Instead, they talked about money without saying money. They talked about fairness. They talked about tradition. They talked about what a good man would do. I ignored them all, using emotion as a weapon. Next, my ex-wife reached out. She did not apologize. She never does. Instead, she sent long emotional messages late at night. She talked about how hard life had become, how her health was not what it used to be, how she worried about her daughter's future. She framed it as concern, but the message underneath was clear. You owe us. She reminded me of the years we spent together, the meals, the holidays, the photos. She tried to rewrite history into something softer, something kinder. I responded once. I told her that love without respect is just convenience. Then I blocked her too. The venting phase. That is when my former stepdaughter changed her tone. She sent an email this time. Long, emotional, carefully written. She said she felt abandoned. She said she felt punished for mistakes made in youth. She said she never meant to hurt me. But even in that message, there was no accountability, no ownership, no apology that did not come with justification. She ended it by saying she hoped I would reconsider for the sake of peace. Peace for who, I wondered. Not for me. Legal threats. When emotion failed, they tried intimidation. I received a letter from a lawyer claiming they were exploring whether I had a moral obligation, given my financial involvement in her upbringing and wedding, not a legal one, just moral. That alone told me everything I needed to know. My own attorney shut it down in one afternoon. There was no legal standing, no claim, no loophole. The threat dissolved as quickly as it appeared. The last attempt. The final attempt came through a phone call from her biological father, the same man who barely showed up. The same man who contributed nothing financially. The same man who was suddenly very invested in my money. He told me I was punishing his daughter for adult conflicts. He told me I should man up and do the right thing. He told me real men provide, even when unappreciated. I listened quietly. Then I told him real men also teach consequences. I reminded him that he had years to be present, years to provide, years to protect his child from becoming someone who only valued people when they were useful. Then I ended the call, walking away for good. After that, the silence finally came. No more messages, no more letters, no more guilt disguised as concern. I focused on my family, on bedtime stories, on first steps, on laughter that did not feel conditional. I updated my will. Everything goes to my wife and my children, no exceptions, no explanations. What I learned. Some people do not miss you. They miss what you provided. Some people do not regret their behavior. They regret losing access. Walking away was not bitterness. It was clarity. I paid $40,000 for a wedding. The real cost was learning exactly who never valued me. And I would pay that price again to protect the life I built after I finally chose myself.